Hello and welcome to the 24 weekend. We obviously just finished up the Roar, which was super entertaining, at least for me, to watch all the testing. I've never been here for the Roar. I've only been here for the 24 itself.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Well, that was really cool to watch and really excited for this weekend. Of course, this weekend is the first race of the IMSA season, and we're starting off really strong with the 24-hour race. What do you think are the biggest differences in your mindset as it comes to when you come to a 24-hour race, especially the first race of the season, versus if you're going to any other shorter race or, anything that's not an endurance race?
Very easy. Patience. Patience. It's such a long race, and you've got so many people that are feeling like they might win it on the first lap or the first hour, and the race isn't even won in the first 10, frankly, and so first 10, 12. So, I think it's just about knowing when to push and, when it's time to just kind of chill out and put your laps in and keep your team on the lead lap. And so it's things like that. And I think it takes a lot of, especially out of racing drivers and people that are super competitive, it takes a lot of discipline to understand that and to just know that, you have to know your role in this race. And so it's like, for me, I'm just pounding out laps and I'm keeping a nice clean car so that, my teammates that are at the end of the race that are finishing, that they've got something really strong to fight with.
As you mentioned, it's a lot easier to lose the race in the first half of it, honestly even 3/4 of it, than win. But as race car drivers, I'm sure it's really difficult, as you said, to have that discipline in order to hold back when you need and kind of not be racing hard the entire time. Are there any specific things that you think about, or any specific mindset that you keep in order to keep that discipline for however many hours that you're racing for?
It's almost like you have to be omniscient in a sense, and that sounds like a funny thing to say, but just in the Roar alone, I had 3 very big spins in front of me. And each time, it was almost like I knew it was going to happen.
Sure.
And so I feel like you just have to have a situational awareness where you see things starting to play out, and you have a hunch where you think to yourself, that doesn't feel 100% right. And chances are that's probably the case. So, I had a car, one of the LMP2 cars coming up the inside of me into the bus stop. And I thought to myself, as we were entering the braking zone, he's not going to make that corner. And sure enough, he didn't. And he got into the grass and spun in front of me. And, no big deal. But yeah. I think it's just that awareness and the understanding that, it's probably, if you think that it's probably not going to play out well, chances are that is the case. And so I think it's trusting your gut in those moments and just deciding, you know what, it's better to lose a second or two here to back off and stay out of the nonsense than to just, push through it and say it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And it has to be incredibly hard to keep that omniscience when you're driving for a 4-hour stint at a time. Is there anything that you do in order to keep your mind sharp and kind of keep yourself engaged, or do you just kind of sink into that mode?
Yeah, I actually think it's the total opposite. I think it's the less conscious you are, conscious-minded about it. I think the more of flow state that you can get into, the better, because you're really just trusting your instinct at that point. And I think that's when, anybody's performing at their best. When you're, having to think about okay, I have to do this downshift and hit this break point, and okay, I have a car here, and or I have a car ahead of me and I have to change because the arrow's going to change because I'm tucked in right behind somebody. I think when you're just doing that in a natural state, in my opinion, I think that things work out better from a performance standpoint. And so to me, it's actually just staying relaxed, staying loose, and just trusting your abilities. So, actually, I don't, before I jump in the car, maybe I'll do some jumping jacks or something just to get the blood flowing. Maybe I'll do a little bit of jogging back and forth in the hauler, a little bit of stretching. But for the most part, it's just staying clear-minded.
Yeah. Speaking of pre-stint rituals, do you have a pre-race, pre-driving, pre-stint hype-up song?
So I get asked this question quite a bit.
Okay.
It's interesting because, if you ask me my, a walkout song, I have definite answers to that. But interestingly enough, if I'm going to play anything before a race, I listen to some Conor McGregor.
Okay.
Talking points, and it's his famous quotes from him. Yeah. And he's very big on law of attraction, and I love fighting sports also. But it's just about, you know, that like what you think about, you bring about, and I'm a very big believer in that. And so I've spent this whole week, like I can't even tell you, hundreds of times I've played these kind of interviews through my head. I've played the walkout in my head. I've played getting into the car in my head and what my laps are going to look like and feel like. And I frankly, in my head, I've played us receiving our watches 1,000 times at this point. And so like I feel it, I'm visualizing it, and I believe it, and I'm speaking about it, so I'm going to bring that into existence.
I love that. Speaking of, you just mentioned that you love fighting sports, martial arts. It is my understanding you train in Jiu Jitsu, correct?
I know Jiu Jitsu. I train with a Jiu Jitsu fighter.
Okay.
And so we work on apparently Jiu Jitsu is very hot, I guess, when you're rolling and you're close to each other.
Yeah.
And so my trainer is a black belt in Jiu Jitsu, and he's just taught me a lot of like breathing techniques and how to bring your heart rate back down and just stay calm when you're really hot and you're really uncomfortable. Because, you know, think about it, those guys are like getting their arms pulled off, and like they're like pretzels at that point. And so it's just about like, how do you be in a moment that is so uncomfortable and be able to like find your center and be comfortable again? And so like a lot of times that's what happens in the race car. You get rattled by somebody that's around you, or maybe you know, miss a brake zone a little bit, or like in our case, the Acura is very, very hot. And so it's like, how do you set checkpoints throughout the race to mentally keep yourself like understanding that like you're progressing, and that there is, you know, eventually going to be an end in sight, and you're going to be making one step at a time towards your goals.
Yeah. Okay, one fun question, and then we're going to go into the team questions. Okay. Who do you choose to play in Mario Kart?
Probably Yoshi.
Yoshi?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm a Yoshi.
And then for the game, again, it's going to be 5 quick questions. The first teammate who comes to mind, just say it. Who is the most superstitious?
I would say me.
Okay. Who has the most speeding tickets?
I also would say me, but oh gosh, I can't even believe I'm going to say this. I haven't gotten one in a very long time, and so I feel like that's a jinx. But I think Kat maybe edges me out on that one.
Okay. Who could set up a sim the fastest?
I'm going to say Steven, but Kat has a ton of experience in the IndyCar simulators, so maybe that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Who is least likely to sleep during the race?
I don't know. I would say maybe Steven again. Maybe Tatiana, though.
Okay. And who is most likely to sleep and either be late or completely miss a sprint?
It is hands down, it's me.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's hands down.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.